Minecraft 26.1 Snapshot 3 brought us data pack version 97 and resource pack version 78 with a brand new system for world clocks and time markers together with a large change to tags. My name is Sliced Lime and this is a guide to all the changes. Let's start with the world clocks. Each world clock contains an internal time and that time regularly increases every tick, but clocks can also be paused and resumed using commands. Defining a world clock is done by adding a file to the world clock registry folder with a JSON object. However, the format is currently empty. By default, there's a single world clock, the Minecraft:overworld one. Timelines now also specify which world clock they run according to in a new clock field. They also have a field for another new concept, time markers. A time marker assigns a name to a specific time in a clock. Examples of such markers are the names that are available to the time set command, like day, night, and noon. Each time marker has a ticks field for the time it represents, as well as a show in commands boolean that determines if it's available when time markers show up in command syntax. The show in commands field defaults to false, and time markers also have a collapsed form when they are specified as a number, which represents the ticks field. Note that time markers are specific to the world clock even though they're defined in the context of a timeline. That means only one time marker can be defined with a certain ID for each world clock, but the same time marker ID can be used for several different world clocks. In addition to the names used in the time command, the game also uses two built-in markers called Wake Up From Sleep and Roll Village Siege. This change also has an effect on a number of different formats. The time check loot predicate now has a clock field specifying the world clock. The game test environment type time of day has been replaced with clock time, which also has a clock field to specify which world clock to set. And dimension types now have a default clock field, which specifies which clock to use for the built-in marker checks as well as the default for the time command. This is an optional field, and if not specified, the time command needs the clock to be specified and the built-in markers never occur. And speaking of the time command, as you might imagine, it is also affected by this change. Most forms of the command now have an optional argument right after time of clock ID, which lets you specify the world clock the command should affect. There's a new pair of subcommands pause and resume for pausing and resuming the passage of time within a certain world clock, and the set and query forms now take time marker IDs rather than a predefined set of names. Time set used with a marker ID now advances time to the next repetition of that marker instead of setting the time to the first repetition, and time add can now be used with a negative number as well as a positive one. The return value of add and set is now the total amount of elapsed ticks of the affected world clock. Instead of the day and daytime query forms, you now query a specific timeline, and there's now a repetitions subcommand that lets you query the number of repetitions of that timeline. And with that, we're done with world clocks, but not done with commands. The swing command has also been updated in this version, now allowing both the target and the hand arguments to be omitted, defaulting to @s and the main hand respectively. A bug has also been fixed with a spear in the entity's main hand being animated when its offhand is swung. Testing for or giving specified default item components in commands now also works as it should. Recipes have been updated in this version, with all recipe types that have a results field now having the format of that field unified. They all now accept the short form for a single item, and ones that did not have a count field before now do. In tag news, a number of features which were either hard-coded or part of concepts like dirt have been split into separate tags, including what types of vegetation blocks can be supported and which blocks can be used to grow crops. Bubble column generation is now also controlled by tags instead of being hard-coded to magma and soul sand. There are also similar fluid tags for which fluids can support lily pads and frog spawn, as well as which ones are needed to support sugarcane, and which fluids bubble columns can exist within. This pack version also includes a fix for dialogs not showing properly until the UI is refreshed, and stability fixes for crashes related to some of the enchanting item modifiers. And finally, in the new Resource Pack version, the tripwire texture is now rendered as cutout rather than translucent, and so no longer supports partial transparency. And that's all the pack news in this snapshot. Thank you for watching. If you find these videos useful, please help out and leave a like to let YouTube know, and make sure you're subscribed to the new Pack News channel. My name is Sliced Lime, and I'll see you next time.